Hello everyone, Luciano Oliveira, Oliveira Lawyers, March the 10th, Sunday. Now it's 3:30 Rio de Janeiro time. You are welcome to share topics of your interest to be discussed today. Unfortunately, once again, we were not able to get our friend James Weldon to participate in the live stream, but we do have some interesting plans in the works. We have other people who are producing content for foreign citizens to come here to our live stream and share their insights with you. So hopefully that's going to be happening soon. Okay, let me check if we have any topics of interest for our participants so far. I'm interested in buying an apartment in São Paulo, more specifically an apartment from a pre-construction development. Is this a good idea? All right, so to buy a pre-construction property, usually in the larger cities of Brazil, it's usually actually safer than buying from a private individual because developers, particularly if you are buying from a large developers, they've been in business for decades, the largest developers in Brazil, and the chances that you're gonna get what you're paying for are, in my opinion, higher than if you're buying from an individual, or a couple, right? Like it's very often the case that when you're gonna buy a pre-existing property, like something from the market, you're gonna buy from a couple, because in Brazil, for people to gather the resources to buy a property, usually it's gonna happen later in their lives. Particularly when people are married, right? People get married and then they want to buy their own house, their own apartment. So if you're buying from a developer, usually this developer is not gonna, go anywhere after you pay the price. However, if you're buying from, an individual, there is always the escrow concern because, as you probably know by now, in Brazil, we don't have escrow accounts. Usually, you're going to pay the seller upfront and just pray that the seller is going to show up for closing, right? Jokes apart, it's pretty the dynamic. It's pretty much the dynamic in Brazil. If you are a local buyer, you have something to your advantage, which is you have like a local bank account, and you can try to time the release of the funds to the moment in which the seller arrives at the cartório, right, the registry in which the closing takes place, and then you avoid paying way up front, and you reduce the chances of non-performance. All right, I see here we have a number of viewers. No topics so far. There is no topics. I hope our chat is working as it should. I had a consultation today with a client, and we were discussing the pros and cons of living in Brazil. So I would like to ask, if you are watching our live stream, what is the thing that you like the most about Brazil? What is attracting you as a foreign citizen to Brazil? If you could please type your view of Brazil, the thing that you like the most in Brazil, in the chat window, then we can share with other participants and make our live stream more interactive. In the meantime, let me address another question. All right, William Frost. Welcome, William. Hi, Luciano. Thanks for all the great content about Brazil for foreigners. Do you have a recommendation for a bank in Brazil to open a bank account to start the process of moving to Brazil? William, yes, I'm gonna share a link here with you guys. I can share even a couple of names for banks. Just important to note, if you are buying a property to obtain the permanent residency, you should not open a bank account up front, because the way you wanna pay the seller is by sending the monies directly to the seller. You could use a currency exchange bank, and that's what we actually do in every single transaction for which we participate, assisting our clients. However, if you send your monies to your bank account, let's say I give you the information, you open a bank account, and then if you send the money to your bank account first, and then afterwards you're gonna pay the seller for the property, that could preclude you from securing the residency visa, the real estate investment visa in Brazil, because in theory, the money is already in the country, and the legal requirement for you to obtain residency is that you're bringing new money from abroad. So it sounds like a silly distinction, but we saw happening in the past, people not getting the residency because they had this idea of first sending the money to their own bank accounts and only then buy the property using money that is already in the country, right? Like that goes against the purpose of the real estate investment visa. This said, I'm gonna share with you I'm gonna actually share a list of every single financial institution that is authorized to receive currency from abroad. And of course, if you're going to open a bank account, you're going to be picking a bank that's capable of receiving money from abroad. Okay, so I'm just adding the link to the chat, and this list has today 175 entities. He had 176 probably 4 days ago, and a couple of weeks ago he had 178. So this change in numbers, it means that in Brazil, ideally you're gonna be dealing with a currency exchange bank only, because the brokers, or how we say in Portuguese, the corretores de câmbio or corretoras de câmbio, they go out of business quite often, and you don't want to have your money in their hands when they go out of business. And therefore, a very strong recommendation that whenever you send the monies to Brazil, you're gonna work exclusively with banks. Now, if you want to know the banks that we use, you're gonna look at the list. Again, the list that I just entered to the chat. I don't know if the chat shows as of now to you guys. If you guys could tell me, yes, we can see the link, or no, we cannot see anything at all. If it's not showing as of now, I'm 100% sure it's gonna show up tomorrow, right? So if you wanna come back tomorrow to the chat window, if it's not showing right now, if you look at this video, you're gonna find the link in the chat window. And again, it has a list of every single bank that you could potentially work with. Now, a little bit more details. I know that the Banco do Brasil, all right, or Bank of Brazil, they have a non-resident bank account, meaning that you could open this bank account even while you're in the US or in Europe or in any country in which you are based. And you can open this bank account without any type of immigration rights in Brazil. And the distinction is because when you become a resident in Brazil, through pretty much any type of visa other than the tourist visa, which doesn't give you any rights. But for instance, if you get the digital nomad visa, which is an entry-level visa, but it does get you the resident card, you could open a bank account in pretty much any Brazilian bank. But there is this distinction. So if you're trying to get, the bank before you actually have an immigration benefit, you need to open a non-resident bank account, which is usually going to be more restrict in terms of features, and it's going to be much more expensive. Okay, so if you need to have monies in Brazil for some purpose, you can consider this type of special bank accounts. Otherwise, I recommend you to first find your place in Brazil from an immigration perspective, and then you're going to get the RNM card, which I can share again as a link. We can see the link, and I have opened. That's great, William. Thank you for the feedback. I know you guys can see what I can see. RNM card. Okay, so now I'm gonna share. I'm gonna share a link. I'm gonna share a link to the RNM card. Okay, let me see. Let me test the link before I share with you guys. Yeah. All right. So I'm sharing the link so you can know exactly what I'm talking about. This is the RNM card, William. So after you get this card, you're no longer the gringo, okay? The gringo that people are going to take advantage of. You're going to become more like a resident, at least from a legal perspective, and then different doors are going to open for you, such as the regular bank accounts that are going to have all the features that we Brazilians can enjoy, and also other things. For instance, the health insurance, that's another thing that until you get this card, you're not going to have access to the good health insurances that we Brazilians have. You're going to have access to some really, in my opinion, not good health insurance plans that are for gringos, and they are super expensive and they are not accepted by most health providers, right? So get the card first and then you get the bank account. That's usually my recommendation. All right, we have a BR. Hello, BR. Welcome to the family. Hey, Luciano, great content. If one has a U.S. LLC and pays in Brazil with the company credit card, is it possible to avoid income tax like that? Right. So if you're talking about income tax, I would assume you're probably talking about personal income tax, but you have an U.S. LLC and pays in Brazil with the company credit card, income tax, right? So income tax is going to be either income tax on a person, on yourself as BR, or it's going to be income tax on the U.S. entity. And the income tax is not going to depend on how you are paying things. Income tax is going to be triggered by very specific facts. And whenever you have a taxable event in Brazil, that's going to generate an obligation for taxes, okay? And let me give you an example, right? Let's say you never touch Brazil. You are from abroad. You never travel to Brazil. But if you buy a property, if you buy an apartment in Brazil, just because you are the owner of the apartment, you're gonna need to pay income tax on the income that the property is generating for you. Okay, so we're not talking about income tax on your income from abroad. We're talking about tax on the income that your property is generating, right? So that's one type of income tax, because every time you get income in Brazil, you need to pay tax on that income no matter what. Now, the other side, which is usually more concerning to foreign citizens, is like when Brazil says, well, I want to tax your global income, meaning your income from abroad. And this tax obligation is going to be triggered usually when you've been in Brazil for over 183 days within any 12-month period. And this does not mean like January to December. It could be any 12-month period. Okay, it's a moving scale. Like it moves to try to catch you and make you become a tax resident, right? And so when you cross the 183 days, then it does not matter if you're using an LLC, or it does not matter if you paying with a company credit card. There is a legal event that is going to make you become a tax resident in Brazil. Okay, now if you're saying ways to avoid the Brazilian taxation system to identify you as a tax resident, yes, I mean there should be many strategies out there, but I would, of course, not recommend you to try to explore them, because interesting enough, like I'm going to give an example, like the United States, it has no treaty to avoid double taxation with Brazil, although under reciprocity, there is a somewhat approach to avoid the double taxation. However, on the other side, the United States has three treaties with Brazil to catch tax cheaters, right? So you see, like, no tax treaty to make people's lives easier, but three treaties to catch the tax cheaters, right? So that's why I usually say, you know what? I don't think any strategy to avoid becoming a tax resident is a good idea, because at the end of the day, like, I mean, you want to have a peace of mind. And to tell the truth, like for the vast majority of our clients, the tax load is not going to be big enough, like to scare them away of living their dreams in Brazil, right? Actually, the opposite. If you do a tax planning, if you do like the tax credit compensation, which means if you're paying taxes on your income from the U.S., you're usually going to apply the taxes that you paid as a credit towards your obligations in Brazil, and vice versa, all right? Like most people, they do not incur like in a boatload of taxes, and they are usually, pleasantly surprised by the numbers, okay? So there is that, BR. I hope that helps, okay? All right. Roberto Luna, welcome, Roberto. Welcome, Roberto. I'm American with Portuguese citizenship through my father. What should I do if I have more than one citizenship? Is it easier to get Brazilian residency and citizenship with Portuguese citizenship? Yes, Roberto. There is a special track. There is a special track for Portuguese people. Okay, there was a new door. I mean, this thing of the treaties between Brazil and Portugal has been in the works for, I don't know, like years or even decades. I know that as of last year, there was, like a push from the Brazilian immigration to kind of, make available the means of materializing such treaty. So yes, there is a track. Basically, you just need to, present documents, a bunch of documents. You're going to need to prove that you have a certain level of income. You're going to need to prove that you don't have, serious criminal records and a few other things. But yes, there is an easier track for those who are Portuguese. All right. So if you're from the U.S., the most of our clients, they are going to pick the real estate investment track to obtain a citizenship. In your case, you would use the fact that you are a Portuguese citizen to acquire the residency in Brazil. Okay, Roberto? So there you go. William Frost, brilliant, thanks. Thank you, William, for making such interesting questions. William Frost says, I guess you would need a CPF first before this card and the bank account. That's something I need to do. Yes, William. The CPF tax ID is actually pretty easy to obtain. For foreign citizens who are abroad, usually the consulate is going to be a preferred route. You have no cost to apply and receive the CPF at a consulate. The two other possibilities would be for you to, as soon as you arrive in Brazil, you could schedule a visit to the Brazilian IRS departments. There is a department in pretty much every major city, and you attend the appointment and you get the CPF tax ID, which, by the way, you don't get a physical card anymore. That's a common question because there is still, pictures out there about the physical card, but the reality is the new card is not being printed anymore. I'm gonna share here the link in our chat window. Let me see if it's gonna open fine for you guys. Yep. So I'm sharing a picture of the CPF ID card. So that card actually existed in the past, I would guess, until COVID. Okay, until COVID, this card was being printed. So it was a nice, plastic card, very resistant. You could swim with this card in your pocket at the beach. The information would still be there. But after COVID, no more cards. Basically, you get a printout, a PDF from the Department of Taxation in Brazil, and you just save this in your records and you use the number. Okay. Another interesting distinction, in Brazil, we use this number, although, a lot of people, they interpret the CPF tax ID number as a parallel to the Social Security number. In Brazil, we share this number very often. And I know that U.S. citizens, they are absolutely crazy about not sharing their Social Security numbers because that would expose them to fraud. And I understand it is concern, but not in Brazil. In Brazil, like if you enter a store and if you're going to buy something, they are going to ask you for your tax ID, right? But hold on, I'm not going to finance. Yes, they're going to still ask for your tax ID number, okay? That's to convey the idea that this tax ID number is absolutely shareable. Nobody's going to, withhold this information when buying stuff, when, getting a cell phone or, setting up any type of services. Is super common for you guys to share. And that's the CPF. So you can get it at a Brazilian consulate or embassy. You can get it in Brazil. You can also get it through a powerful attorney. We get CPFs for clients and non-clients, right? Like some people, they get in touch and say, listen, I just want a CPF. I have a realtor. My wife, she's Brazilian. I want to, use another service, but I need the CPF, and I know you guys can get me the CPF. So some people, they hire us just for the purpose of getting the CPF through a power of attorney. Okay, William, but that's correct. You also need the CPF. That's a good point. Black Angel, welcome, Black Angel. Happy to see you here. I was told by the Polícia Federal in Florianópolis that I need a consulate vias in order to register for my Brazilian residency. That was done while living in Brazil. A consulate vias. Maybe there was that could be a typo. I need a consulate vias in order to register for my Brazilian residency. That was done while living in Brazil. I don't know what they are talking about, Black Angel. If you could maybe explain these vias that you're mentioning, maybe provide some further information. In theory, when you acquire residency in Brazil, you register with the Polícia Federal, and you don't need anything from the consulate. Okay, the vast majority of the immigration cases we handle here at the firm, they need zero things from the consulate. Okay, it's actually the opposite. We try to keep our clients away from the consulate as much as possible. Consulates, they have, they face a huge demand, particularly by Brazilian citizens abroad, actually not so much by foreign citizens. They are always understaffed and overworked, and things do not usually work as expected at a Brazilian consulate. So we tell our clients, forget about the Brazilian consulate, work with us, okay? And but if you explain in some different words what they're asking for to allow your registration in Brazil, I'm gonna be happy to comment, Black Angel. Questions, patrimony, all right. Welcome, questions, patrimony. Are you doing this live stream every Sunday? Thank you for asking. Yes, we do it pretty much every Sunday and Wednesday. Okay, sometimes I'm moving between offices, and I try to do that in the weekends, and then I'm gonna skip on a specific Sunday. Sometimes we have legal procedures on a Wednesday, and then we're gonna skip on a live stream. But you can always visit our YouTube page, and you can see something that we try to do that consistently, is that you're gonna be able to see the next live stream, and then there is a button that you can basically just click notify, okay? And then that means, I'm not sure if they give you a heads up a day before or on the same day or on the live stream is starting, but that could help you know exactly which ones we are doing. Maybe just as a coincidence, just because you were asking about every Sunday, so we are skipping on the live streams on next Wednesday because we have a deposition. It's going to take like a whole day. I'm going to be participating in this deposition on Wednesday, and on Sunday I'm going to be moving, and so I'm going to skip the next two usual days that we have a live stream. But if you check our YouTube page as of now, you're gonna see the next Wednesday. So not this Wednesday, the next Wednesday, there is a notify me, there is the date, there is the time, okay? So on Sundays we meet at 3:30 Rio de Janeiro time, and on Wednesdays we meet at 12:30 also Rio de Janeiro time. And I know there was a change in time for the US, so but the time is gonna reflect always 3:30 Rio de Janeiro time on Sundays and 12:30 Rio de Janeiro time on Wednesdays. Thank you for asking questions, Patrimony. I hope we can see you around. Thank you, Luciano. You said that it's possible to add 90 days to your tourist visa. Germany on the Brazilian consulate homepage, it says it's not possible. So you probably, maybe you're talking about the extension. On the extension, is that so? Add 90 days to your tourist visa, probably the extension, right? So on the extension, until last year, for most nationalities, because this is based on the nationality, and I think that for many European countries, that's not allowed. Until last year, particularly citizens from the US, Canada, Australia, they could basically go to the Polícia Federal and get an extension that would be granted without any reason. So again, until last year, you would go to a Polícia Federal after getting 90 days in the country and say, listen, I want to stay 90 days more. And then they would rubber stamp your extension. This year, things are changing. So we have several clients who said, listen, I tried to get the extension. They asked why I would need an extension. And I would say, well, because I want to stay longer. And they would say, that's not a valid reason for asking for an extension. And therefore, you're not going to get an extension, right? And then they would need to leave the country in order to be compliant and then apply for a visa from abroad. Or if they were in the process of applying for a visa with us, we would expedite the process of applying for a different visa because if you are in Brazil as a tourist, you can apply, for instance, for the digital nomad, and you don't need to leave the country. As soon as you file the application, you stop the clock, and then you can stay in Brazil for as long as it takes for the Polícia Federal to review the application. Okay, and then once you get it, again, you don't need to leave the country. You can basically just go to Polícia Federal to register as a resident foreign citizen in Brazil. All right, BR, but I know that for some European countries, like it depends on the nationality, like there is no such opportunity to apply for the 90-day extension. So you get just 90 days and that's it, okay? Now, I don't know if that makes you feel a little bit better. Now, even the US citizens, Canadians, Australians, they are not getting the 90 days as well because you would need a very good reason to get the extension. Otherwise, the extension application is going to be denied. All right, William Frost, amazing. Thanks, Luciano. Thank you, William. Hermon, tell me if I'm pronouncing your name right, or is it German? I would assume it's Hermon. Afternoon, my friend. Welcome, Hermon. Let us know about the topics of your interest. There was another question. Is there a double tax treaty with Paraguay? That could follow in a Mercosur, okay, Paraguay and Argentina, Uruguay, they are members of the Mercosur bloc of nations, kind of similar to the European Union, right? So we have a type of European Union for, of course, it's like the name is not the European Union, but it's like the Mercosur. And it's the union of South American countries, which is going to include Paraguay. Okay, so there are, yes, there are some nuances of how you're going to deal with, tax if you are a citizen of or a legal resident of Paraguay. I don't know the details. It's not very common for us to have clients in Paraguay, but yes, I assume there should be something to mitigate the risk of double taxation, BR. All right, so a question I was asking at the beginning of our live stream, what is that you like the most about Brazil? If you guys want to share here in our chat, we can make this live stream more interactive. Hermon, I will be reaching out for more information on getting CPF. I'm getting a run around in the States. Yes, Hermon, just like I was saying, I mean, the consulates, unfortunately, they are understaffed and overworked. Sometimes it's not uncommon for them to even give incorrect information to applicants, okay? I'm going to give you an example. Until October 11th, like of last year, right? Like, so let's say on October the 10th, like you could basically apply for the Brazilian CPF through an email. You would send a single email with a form. a cup of, like a picture of yourself holding your passport, and just your passport by itself. And believe it or not, that's how you would apply as a foreign citizen for a Brazilian tax ID, the Brazilian tax ID known as a CPF, by email. It couldn't be easier than how it was, right? But then there's a new administration in power. The new administration in power, they are undoing many of the things from the prior administration. So guess what? They took a look at the CPF application process and they said, well, that's too easy for gringos. Like, we want to make the lives of our gringo friends a little bit more difficult. And therefore, they got rid of this amazing, easy, and smooth application path for foreign citizens. That was working until October the 10th. If you Google CPF in our website, you can still see the step-by-step. It was pretty neat. It was a game changer for Brazil. But again, unfortunately, the new administration, they have a more conservative view of how things should work for foreign citizens, and it is what it is. Okay, so yes, if you need our help, we can do it through for power of attorney. Usually it takes 3 weeks for us to secure the CPF on your behalf. We apply in Brazil as your representatives. Okay, Herman? So happy to assist. All right, William Frost, do we have a Tim Hortons coffee house in Brazil? I know Starbucks is really popular there. Yes, I mean, everybody loves Starbucks. I love Starbucks in the US, in Brazil. Never saw a Tim Hortons coffee house in Brazil. Maybe you could start a franchise. You could start a franchise for Tim Hortons coffee house in Brazil, William. Like, I mean, it's super common for foreign citizens, like when they really like a brand that's not present in Brazil, sometimes they reach out to the franchisor in the US, and they end up, securing what is known as the master franchise, right? Like, usually when brands are coming to Brazil, they start with a single franchisee, and this single franchisee usually is going to be the master franchise. And because they are developing the brand in the first place, they are going to be able to take some share of the profits of the next franchisees, because they are the ones who are going to be actually qualifying the new prospective franchisees. So I saw that happening before. Believe it or not, like when Remax today is huge in Brazil, and we deal with Remax every single month. Like, we have transactions being handled with Remax. Now, believe it or not, when Remax was entering Brazil, or considering entering Brazil in 2004, 2005, they came to us for advisory, okay? Like, I mean, there was even a discussion in terms of us, Oliveira Lawyers, being the, the master franchise. That didn't work, okay? Because that's not what we do. We do provide advisory. We don't actually do hands-on franchise work in Brazil. But I can still remember the conversations we had almost like 20 years ago when Remax was considering entering Brazil, and good for Remax. We are very happy because they are helping make the real estate market in Brazil more professional. So we do love Remax. Whenever we have a transaction with Remax, we know that like the real estate agents, they are going to need to meet certain standards, making our lives easier when we are representing clients, for instance, for the real estate investment visa in Brazil. All right, I could be a tax citizen of Paraguay without living there. That's why I asked it, so I could run my U.S. LLC through there, and then from Paraguay to Brazil. now I understand, BR. Very interesting planning. Important to know, like usually, even if there is a tax treaty, the country in which you're going to be based, they are going to want to see your taxes being paid there. So, Mercosur, yes, Paraguay is a country member, a member country of the Mercosur. But Brazil, whenever you are in Brazil, like they wanna see some nice taxes being paid in the country, which kind of makes sense. Like if you're enjoying the infrastructure and the government services, there is some level of taxation that you're gonna need to pay. BR, what do you think about the work and travel visa? It looks easier to get than digital nomad. Well, BR, the work and travel visa is probably the 90-day visa that you're referring to, right? So the work and travel visa, they're going to give you only like 90 days. The digital nomad, it gets you like a full year renewable for a second year. So in your case, right, like in your case, if you are a citizen of Paraguay, you don't have the same limitations that other foreign citizens have. And in your case, I don't even think like you would need the work and travel visa. I think there is a period of time in which you can basically just come to Brazil and stay. But if I'm missing some nuance here in your question, the work and travel visa is good for just 90 days. Okay, like I mean, some people they mix up the e-visa, right? Now there is the e-visa for U.S. citizens, and some people say, well, I read somewhere that it is good for 10 years, right? I mean, the 10 years, it doesn't mean you can come to Brazil and stay for 10 years. It just means that the visa is valid for 10 years, okay? That's all it says. It's valid for 10 years, and within these 10 years, every time you come to Brazil, you can stay for 90 days, not for 10 years, right? And usually it doesn't last for 10 years because the e-visa it's linked to your passport, and if your passport expires in a year down the road, guess what, the e-visa dies with your passport, and then you need to get another e-visa. William Frost, great idea. It's a Canadian brand. Yes, now that you're mentioning, I think I remember from last time I went to Vancouver. Yep. And I'm British, but yeah, why not? That's a great idea, William. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I'm sure there is room for other competitors in the coffee space. Brazilians are absolutely crazy about coffee. There is always room. For more businesses offering good coffee. And I would be super happy to visit such a location if there was such a location in Brazil, William. BR, the new offshore asset law is horrible. Do Brazilians want less expats? BR, we are 100% on the same page. So Brazil now is penalizing. Now there are a couple of sets of rules, right? Like I mean, if you are from a normal country, you're gonna be presented with a certain set of tax rules, and if you are from a tax haven, right? That's how Brazil is defining. If you're coming from a tax haven, guess what? We're gonna throw a heavy book on your head with different tax rules to hurt you, okay? But that's super. Listen, I don't want to, enter into politics because otherwise I'm gonna lose half of my audience, right? Naturally, nowadays there is such a polarization whenever it comes to politics. But listen, I mean, it's hard. It's hard to, not call out our current government. They're doing, things that do not help at all. Okay, they do not help at all. Like today, the world is globalized, and the current Brazilian administration, they are doing things backwards. The prior administration, all right, like it wasn't perfect, all right, the guy would say crazy things, I agree, but there was a very clear movement in the right direction, okay? Like we were trying to modernize our current labor law framework is from literally like in the 1900s, like 1930s, right? So we're talking about a framework that is like 100 years old. So it was in need of modernization. It was, getting started in the right direction. But guess what? Like, now the current administration in Brazil is literally like the labor party, right? So in their heads, things should move backwards, and keep, like this labor framework from literally 100 years ago. Okay, BR. So yes, things that do not help Brazil. It does sound very clearly that we want less expats. I agree with you. Thank you for saying that, okay? Thank you for saying that, BR. Poppy Blue, boa tarde, Luciano. Great show and very informative. Thank you, Poppy Blue, for participating. I really appreciate the comments. We are here to share information and hopefully to try to mitigate, every time the Brazilian government is not doing their job, to make Brazil more attractive and more accommodating to Brazilian expats and foreign citizens. We hope that by sharing information and maybe trying to show the best paths, you can find your place in Brazil. Black Angel, they are asking me for my original consulate visa application form, but my application for Brazilian residency was started while living in Brazil. Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. So maybe they have some concern, Black Angel, about whatever it was done abroad. That could mean that there could be some conflict between the information that they see in your current application in Brazil and the application that you filed previously at a consulate abroad. Okay, so usually the residency application in Brazil process is pretty straightforward. They're mostly like reviewing the documents, but if they have information from a prior application that you filed abroad, they could indeed ask you to provide, to troubleshoot some question they may have about the consistency of informations that you are presenting, Black Angel. Like ideally, if you have both applications and if you would like to have these applications reviewed by our firm, we could potentially get an idea about why they are asking for that. But that's unusual. Okay, that could be a sign of some concern that the immigration has about your application. Hopefully, it's not going to be anything major. But again, if you want to have your applications reviewed by our firm, yes, we would be happy to assist. Poppy Blue, I'm married to a Brazilian and we are planning on purchasing property in Brazil to live 5 to 7 months per year, beginning in 1 to 2 years, which permanent visa would you recommend in my case? So, Poppy Blue, I would assume you have missed the tax residency part of our live stream today, or maybe you saw it, but you didn't think about the outcome. I'm not sure if you are from the U.S., but if you are from the U.S., you would have an issue because 5 to 7 months, like it's borderline, you could potentially be exposed to taxation from both Brazil and the US on your global income, okay? So that's not something desirable if you are going to be living from 5 to 7 months per year, right? So if you are in this type of planning, Pablo, I would strongly recommend you to stay up to 183 days. Because if you do so, you avoid the tax residency, right? So you can enjoy Brazil for 183 days for roughly like 6 months a year, and you're not going to have to worry about paying taxes in Brazil for your income from the US. All right, so that's what I recommend. Now, if you're married to a Brazilian, usually what people have in mind is the permanent residency. The permanent residency, a good thing about it is that you're never gonna need to worry about visas anymore, right? Because it's permanent, as the name says. But like the downside is that you become a tax resident, okay? So the problem is you apply for the Brazilian permanent residency, and then you are all of a sudden like you are hit with the tax residency, and then it means that whatever income you have, and by the way, not only in the United States, right? Like there are many of our clients in the United States with global investments, like they have maybe another property in Portugal, or I don't know, like in Spain, in Europe, somewhere in Europe, or like in Mexico. So Brazil is going to look at your global income. Now, a workaround that we see for the permanent visa, and is not like super settled in jurisprudence. It goes like this: like the person asks for a permanent visa, and as soon as you get to the permanent visa, you become a tax resident, okay? But then, right after that, people are going to file the tax exit, and there is nothing precluding you from filing the tax exit from Brazil, which means you're saying goodbye to the country, and after that, you're no longer a tax resident, right? The question which we have is more like a legal question, and there is no enough jurisprudence to confirm if that's possible or not. Is that, listen, if you are holding the permanent residency but you are filing a tax exit, you are basically saying, well, I'm a permanent resident, but I don't want to be a permanent resident anymore. And that's what some people would say that you are conveying by filing the tax exit, which in Portuguese is called declaração de saída definitiva, right? So, but we do know that there is a bunch of people who are going to do just like that. They get the residency, and a few months later they file the tax exit, and they say, you know what, like Brazil is super accommodating, lenient, like if I have a problem in the future, I'm going to deal with this problem in the future, right? Like, I mean, not super secure, not super safe, and of course we do not advise on that route. I'm just sharing with you, Poppy Blue, some of the questions, applicable to residency. I can see you have a follow-up question, golden visa or marriage visa. Well, the good thing about the golden visa is that you get 4 years. You get 4 years as a resident, but you are not a permanent resident right off the bat. Okay, so if you get the residency through for the golden visa, as long as you don't cross 183 days, you're not going to become a tax resident. Okay, so from this perspective, the real estate investment route, the golden visa, is going to give you 4 full years for you to enjoy Brazil. Again, as long as you don't cross the 183 days per year as a non-permanent resident. Now, if you apply through marriage, there is no such a temporary 4-year period, right? You go straight into the permanent version, and then you are a tax resident from the get-go. Okay, Poppy Blue, I think, you're more than welcome to ask as many questions as you have, to come back here. It's actually very helpful for our audience. But if you have a consultation and we understand your specifics. Like usually we can ask questions and find out the best plan possible for you. Okay, Poppy Blue, BR, no, there is a work and travel visa also for 1 year for Germans. There is a work and travel visa also for 1 year for Germans. Well, the work visa, it's available for everyone. The temporary work visa, and we have a recent video about it, right? Let me see if I can grab the link in the meantime. But the point is, like, it's not easy to obtain, right? Like, I mean, you need a sponsor, okay? For the temporary visa, you need a sponsor. There are some other type of visas for which you don't need a sponsor, but you need other things. So one thing I can tell you for sure, whenever it comes to Brazilian immigration, usually there is no such a thing as an easy visa for 1 year, okay? Guaranteed. And if there is, if there was, right now there is, if there was, the Brazilian government would have like their eyes on this visa to get rid of it, okay? Particularly the new administration. I can tell you for sure. But I'm sharing here the video we have about the temporary work visa. There you go. There is the link over there. Yes, you can get a work visa, but you need a sponsor for that. Okay, you need a sponsor. You need a bunch of other things. Usually not easy. Okay, again, nothing is easy when it comes to Brazilian immigration. Okay, BR, take a look at the video link. You're welcome to share more insights and questions. Questions, Patrimony. Hi, I go to Brazil every year because my girlfriend is Brazilian. I have a CPF but could not open a bank account. Is there a way to open a bank account in Brazil to spend the money more easily when I visit? Questions, Patrimony. So there is the so-called non-resident bank account. This is, like 2 banks I like for the non-resident. I'm going to write here in the chat window 2 banks for the non-resident bank accounts would be the Santander, the Van Gogh account, okay, and the Banco do Brasil non-resident segment. Listen, I just shared the information on the chat. This said is not super straightforward. There is no such a thing as straightforward routes for you to get a bank account until you become a resident. Okay, but the link is right there. The names of the 2 banks. Santander Van Gogh, it means like a higher segment. Like they usually ask you, listen, I need you to deposit, I don't know, like $50,000 to open the bank account. And this is the exchange, right? Like you start with a substantial amount in your bank account and they give you the bank account. Downside, they are very expensive. It could be like you would start at least $50 a month. And I saw some brands, some agency, some brands, some bank managers asking even for $300 a month. So this is one of the things I don't like. Like it sounds like it's a way of taking advantage of foreign citizens. And I usually joke like this is the for gringo version of a bank account. Okay, the real bank accounts, the ones that I have and every Brazilian has, are the ones you're going to be able to get once you have the resident card. And then you're going to be paying, I don't know, like $10 a month for a good bank account. Okay? All right. Hermon, are there any good real estate investment opportunities in Pomerode? I don't know the city. I don't know if it's Pomerode municipality in Brazil, so it's a real It's a real city, state of Santa Catarina, all right? So Santa Catarina, usually people are going to think about Florianopolis, right? Or the seacoast cities such as Camboriú, Bombinhas, and so on. I'm taking a look here at Pomerode, and it's in the valley, right? And it's gorgeous. Like I see here the architecture, beautiful. But listen, I never heard about this city's name before. I'm sorry about that, but usually, like I had this question in a consultation today, and the question was like, should I invest in Brazil real estate, right? And I said, listen, when you invest in real estate in Brazil, is because you have some other type of link to the country. Okay, nobody comes to invest in Brazil for the sake of investing. You invest in Brazil because you have some other reason for investing in Brazil, and it could be your case, Herman. Like you like the country, you wanna retire in the country. You wanna have a break from the life in a busy country, either in Europe or Brazil. Okay, so real estate investment decision for Brazil is usually never about the return. It's more about a personal reason for doing so, and diversification, right? Like if you want to diversify your investments, then Brazil may make sense. Nobody knows. Maybe there is a new world war, right, in the future. And in this case, Brazil would be kind of far from the main centers of disputes between the large developed nations. So there could be an explanation, okay, Herman? So from this sense, it's more about meeting your personal goals for the investment than actually opportunities themselves. I hope that makes sense. All right, so we are already past our usual 1 hour allocated for our live stream. I'm going to take a final question here. BR, you said Brazil taxes permanent residents worldwide if one becomes a resident through Viper and does spend less than 183 days in Brazil, moves out indefinitely. Is there still an obligation to pay? So the Viper, right? The Viper is another name for the Brazil Golden Visa or real estate investment route. When you get this visa, you initially get for 4 years, and in our understanding, this is a temporary residency. It's a really nice temporary residency for 4 years, but it's temporary nevertheless. So as long as during these 4 years you don't cross the 183 days threshold, you're not going to become a tax resident, okay? And now, once 4 years have passed, you're going to renew your residency, and then it's going to come as permanent residency, triggering the tax residency as well, okay? And then there is no settled understanding in terms of, yes, you can basically just file the tax exit, and then you don't need to worry about taxation. Or if, as long as you have the permanent resident card, this is going to supersede a potential tax exit that you're filing, because you're choosing to remain as a permanent resident, okay? BR. So if that's your planning, you may think about a consultation. But yes, feel free to keep the questions coming. Very interesting questions. And as usual, the value that we add through our live streaming is going to depend on the quality of the participation of our audience. So you are pretty welcome to share such interesting questions. All right, I appreciate everyone's participation. As usual, I really enjoy seeing like the foreign citizens participating, and I hope to see you guys in our next live stream, which is gonna be there's gonna be a gap in time. Our next live stream is gonna be on March the 20th. So if you check our YouTube page right now, you can click on notify me. You're gonna see that there is a live stream scheduled for March the 20th, which is a Wednesday. Right after this one, I'm gonna create a new one for the 24th, which is gonna be the Sunday after March the 20th. And I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Sunday and have a blessed week ahead of you.